We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop. So to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop. And we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. I'm going to begin today by putting a question out there, and I just wish that I could take a survey to find out how many of you have a very similar reaction to this question as I do when I hear it. And the question is simply this: would I lie to you? Now, have you ever heard anybody say something like that? When I hear somebody say something of that nature, now sometimes people will say that in a teasing sort of way, but if somebody were to say, would I lie to you? My immediate reaction is, I feel a scam coming on, because you're going into spin control already, and I just kind of feel like you're wanting to make me feel confused, which is gaslighting, of course, about whatever it is you and I are discussing, and I'm about to be taken advantage of. That's my immediate reaction, and I strongly suspect that a high percentage of you have that same kind of response. See, let's keep in mind when we talk about narcissism, we're talking about highly controlling people. And along with that control, they have this sense of entitlement. That's this sense that says, I'm quite special, and they want to be very superior, and they have no problem manipulating and exploiting other individuals. And that being the case, they tend to have, shall we call it, a very fluid relationship with truth. They're quite flexible with whatever they think truth might be. You see, when a narcissist doesn't want to believe something to be true that everybody else has a consensus for, they'll still say, well, y'all are wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. Or if you're wanting them to admit something that clearly you know happened, then they may say something like, I don't remember that happening, or it's not like it came out the way you're saying it is. No, that's not right. And again, we're going back to that gaslighting kind of thing. Or if you do catch them in a lie, or if they're compromising information and you know completely that it's completely wrong, they can still say something like, well, but you got the context wrong, or the facts aren't exactly like you're talking about. There's certain details that I'm going to have to fill you in on. Or let's suppose you're wanting them to make good on a promise that they had given to you, and now they're not following through on it. And they may say something like, oh, you just take everything so literally, and they sidestep things. Or if you want them to admit some mistakes from their deep past, then if they talk about their mistakes or things that have been problematic in their past, you know what's going to happen? It's always going to be blamed on someone else. They just can't say, I'm a mistake maker, or I do things wrong, or sometimes I just feel confused. Like I say, they have this very flexible relationship with truth, and it's your job to try to figure out, what am I dealing with here as I try to talk with this person. Now, I want to throw a term at you. I don't know how many of you have actually heard this. It's what we refer to as motivated reasoning. For example, if I want something to be true, then my motivation is to say, well, I'm going to try to figure out how I can make it look like it's true, whether it is or not. Let's suppose that I want to be in charge of a project we're going on. And so it's very important for me to have the takeover kind of position. So what I'm going to say is, well, these people over here, they keep making all these blunders and these mistakes. And so they're trying to come up with some schemes. They need someone like me to step in there and just tell everybody what to do. That's motivated reasoning. Now, it may not be that I'm being very accurate in the way that I read other individuals, but my motivation is to make myself in charge. And so I'm going to present truth in such a way that gets me the goal that I want. It's not at all dissimilar to another favorite term that we can have, and that's confirmation bias. You see things in such a way that confirm what you want to believe. You already have a conclusion in mind. You already have an interpretation in mind of how things are. And so you gerrymander facts and interpretations in such a way that you can have your way. That's how it works. And that is a classic example of how narcissist thinks. Now, let me give some illustrations about how this can play out. And again, as I go through these, I want you to just be thinking about certain individuals that this might be pertinent to. Let's suppose that you have a very cold-hearted family member who then can come back and say something like, I'm one of the friendliest people you'll ever meet. And all the facts say something entirely different. And yet they can say something like, well, people like me and I enjoy being around folks. Whereas you know that they're over here, they make lives miserable for a lot of folks, or they're known as being a grump and a grouch. And yet that's their truth. Would I lie to you? Or let's suppose that you know an individual to be extremely argumentative. I mean, it hardly takes a little bit of a disagreement, and they're already just blistering you with their counterfacts. And so one of the things they might say is, you know, the problem we have here is you're such a difficult individual. They just blow right past whatever's going on inside of them, and they put it onto you. That's when I lie to you, that's their way of rearranging the facts as they see them. Or let's suppose that another illustration, that someone is highly thin-skinned and very defensive. And so what they'll say is, ask me anything you want. I'm an open book. And so then if you have a situation where they're asking questions and they don't really want to answer, it's like, those are not good questions. but they want to believe that that's the way they are, so they just make it their truth. Whether it's true or not, that's irrelevant. Or let's suppose somebody is very flirtatious and seductive, and you might say something to them about it. Now, the response there can be, I can't help it if people like me. I mean, go figure. You're just being paranoid. And so rather than saying, what are you picking up on? Or let's talk about how I might make some adjustments to help bring my trustworthiness level up. They don't go there. It's just like, no, we're just going to make some stuff up on the side. Or let's suppose that narcissistic individual, another illustration, proves to be very closed-minded. They forget the facts. I already have my opinion. I already have my mind made up. And they may come along and say, I'm probably one of the most open-minded people you've ever known. I really like seeing all sides to an argument before I make up my mind. And you're over there thinking, that is so not accurate. Now, let's go back to that phrase, motivated reasoning. What motivates these narcissistic individuals to buy into these falsehoods and try to push it onto you as if, in fact, it's true? What are they trying to confirm? Well, the narcissist has to have an excellent reputation. They have to look good. And so they're wishing to somehow or another prove, I'm an emotionally balanced person. I really am. So if there's any kind of emotional disarray around me, can't be from me. Or people really like me. People really they know I'm special. And so they look into that and they assume that that's how other folks are going to see them. And if you don't, then you miss the memo. Or it may be that they're trying to confirm that their motivation is, I don't just like to think of myself as correct. I like to think of myself as especially correct. There are few people that see truth and the facts and have the wisdom, well, kind of like me. That's the way they think. Or they're motivated to draw the conclusion, whatever problems there are in my life, well, it can't possibly be me, so I'm just around a bunch of knuckleheads that don't know how to do life well. There are just all sorts of reasons why I deserve special consideration. It's maddening, isn't it? And again, I go back to that word gaslighting. It's their way of trying to keep you confused, like, am I reading this wrong? And so they're over there just pushing their alternate reality left and right. But let's underscore something. This pushing of their alternate reality and creating these false narratives, it's all a part of their need to compensate for their deep, deep insecurity. They're very afraid of being found out. Now, somewhere way deep down, they learn, if I start admitting problems, or if I acknowledge that I have needs, or I fail on certain things, it's just not going to be good for me at all. And so they've lost the ability to be human. They've got to have this kind of fairy tale narrative that is part of their life and their projection to the rest of the world. One of the biggest fears that these individuals live with is the fear of being irrelevant, the fear of looking like they're just some sort of a regular old Joe or Jane over here that nobody really cares about them anyway. And so when they ask the question, would I lie to you? The answer is, oh yeah, I'd be glad to lie to you. You know why? Because I've been lying to myself for decades. They lie to you because they can't be honest within themselves about who they are. And so let's underscore, these individuals are not likely to change. They're simply trying to promote their neurotic self-interest. They're trying to protect their ego. They're trying to cover up their blunders. They're trying to deflect attention away from their oddities or idiosyncrasies. They've got to be a person of significance and importance. Your task is to know the truth. And when you know it and understand it, and they just keep coming back and trying to gaslight you by saying you've got it all wrong, you want to use what I refer to as the nonetheless approach. I know that you think differently from me. Nonetheless, here's the path I'm going. Or nonetheless, this is the way that I'm going to proceed in the way that you and I engage. That's just the way I do it. These folks can't be counted on to be trustworthy, because if they were trustworthy, they wouldn't be asking that question in the first place. But I'm hoping that you can see straight through it, and rather than get tangled in all sorts of non-productive arguments, you can anchor down in your decency and goodness and let that be enough. Don't let them get you caught in their web of deception. That's what they're all about. And I do hope that videos such as this give you some good things to think about and ponder so that you can know more fully what you're up against. If you've not already subscribed, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button. If there's you see that bell that pops up, hit the bell and you'll get notifications. In addition, I want you to know that we have a membership now. You'll see the join button there. That's a part of our, right below, and it allows you to be a special member of our Surviving Narcissism Team Healthy, and we have different perks. It's only $7 a month, and I'm going to be doing a live Q&A feed once a week. Laura's going to be doing that, and if you can't do it live, then you can archive it. It's all for private memberships there. It's a really cool thing that we're going to be doing, plus other things there. If you have a need for a counselor, I would encourage you to find someone in your area that can help you out. If you don't have someone there, we have a sponsor that we refer to now, and that's an online counseling service with seasoned licensed professionals, and we've got a link below that if you can click that, you can get some online help and get the help you need. In addition, we have my Free to Be course. It's not just a seminar, it's a big, huge course where we guide you through all sorts of ways of trying to find yourself despite the controllers in your life, and links to books and other kinds of resources below. Would I lie to you? Well, unfortunately, when that question is being asked, put your guard up and recognize, okay, I'm going to have to just make sure that I'm drawing from my sense of internal security, because I know myself to be an individual of integrity and steadiness, and I'm not going to let somebody pull me down into their circular arguments. That's not what I do.